to our latest video update on key areas of primary care finance. This month, we're looking at different types of premises reimbursements that the practice can claim. We'll be looking at rent, notional rent, business and water rates, and clinical waste. First up, let's talk about business rates. You will usually receive your annual invoice from your local authority in March time. This is for the year ahead and is reimbursable via NHS England. Once you've received your invoice, submit this to your local finance team straight away. You don't need to wait until you've paid it, and it doesn't matter if you pay your rates over 10 months. You can still request a full reimbursement. If your surgery has a branch or works from multiple sites, then you should receive separate invoices for each one. Again, these can all be sent off. Once your rate invoice has been processed by the local finance team, reimbursement will be made via your GMS statement. So depending on how quickly you submit your invoice, you should receive a reimbursement pretty quickly. The earlier on you send them, the earlier on the money comes back. If you have opted to pay your rates in instalments, be mindful of your cash flow, as you will receive a lump sum upfront, but you will still have the monthly payments going out. Sometimes there can be a change in the rateable value of the surgery, and this can lead to a reduction in charges. If this is the case, any refund that the practice receives will be due back to NHS England, so please set this aside. Check with your accountant to see if there are any provisions in your practice accounts relating to business rates, and if there are any adjustments to make, they will inform you. If the practice has to pay a bid levy, then this is reimbursable in the same way. Next up, we have water rates and sewerage costs. These costs are also reimbursable through NHS England and can be claimed by submitting your invoices to your local finance team. These costs can often be missed, especially if you pay by a direct debit and you are not downloading your invoices from your supplier. So check your supplier account and make sure all your invoices have been sent off to the finance team. If you pay for the collection and disposal of clinical waste, then this is also reimbursable and it's in the same process as your rates. Send your invoice off to NHS England's finance team, and this will be reimbursed via your GMS statement. Just bear in mind if your invoice includes any trade or sanitary waste, as only the clinical element will be reimbursed. For some localities, the contract and the cost are managed centrally, in which case you don't need to take any action. Occasionally, reimbursements can be missed by the finance team or the wrong amount is reimbursed, even if you submitted your invoices correctly. Therefore, it is really important to keep a log of when the invoices have been sent off and when the correct reimbursement has come through on your GMS statement. We tend to use a spreadsheet to keep track of everything. It may seem simple, but it's really effective at seeing a glance at anything that is missing. The GMS statement doesn't always have the periods noted, which can be tricky, especially if you have the same amounts each month. But if you think you are missing a month or you can't identify one particular payment, contact the finance team and they will be able to help you. Try to submit your invoices regularly so that cash flow isn't affected. And remember that when you receive any credit notes for water rates or clinical waste, these should be sent off to NHS England Finance too. For our clients, we check the premises reimbursement as part of preparing your year-end account, but it's worth to see if you're up to date for the current financial year. If you missed anything, please speak to your local NHS Finance team, and you should be able to make a retrospective claim if necessary. So, rent reimbursements. If the partners in your practice own the surgery, then you'll receive notional rent, which is a reimbursement for the GPs using their own premises to provide NHS services. This should come through automatically each month via your GMS statement and will be reviewed every 3 years by a district valuer. This is on behalf of the NHS and it's to ensure that notional rent is in line with the current market. The rent review process can take a number of years, and you often find by the time any change of notional rent is agreed, it's time to start again. Do check that your current notional rent reimbursement is in line with your determination letter. We have seen some issues recently with the wrong amount being reimbursed by NHS England, so it is worth double checking. If you lease your surgery premises from a third party, then rent payments will be your largest reimbursement. If your surgery is owned by one of the larger organisations such as Assura or PHP, then you'll receive a quarterly invoice well in advance of the due date. So if you submit this to NHS England as soon as you receive it, you should receive your reimbursement before you actually need to pay the invoice, minimising any impact on practice cash flow. For those practices that are in health centres owned by NHS Property Services or CHP, the reimbursement for rent, rate and clinical waste are often made automatically via your GMS statement, so you don't need to submit any invoices. You will usually receive a separate invoice from your landlord for rent and rates, but water and clinical waste costs can be included in your service charges on those invoices. If you are not paying service charges due to ongoing disputes, be mindful that this might have been reimbursed for the cost and you're not actually paying over. In this case, you might want to set aside the amount that you're being reimbursed along with the amount for the service charges, that you have money available when this dispute is settled. Again, check with your accountant to see what provisions are included in your practice account relating to outstanding service charges or premises cost. NHS Property Services should update NHS England with any changes to the rent and rates being charged to the practice, so that reimbursement can be amended if necessary. Sometimes it doesn't happen, so it's important to check that the reimbursement coming through matches the invoices being raised by the landlord. If you across any discrepancies, please raise this with the finance team as soon as possible. So, just as a recap, send your invoices off as soon as you receive them. You do not need to wait until payments are made. Be mindful of cash flow and the timings of payments and reimbursements. Check and review any recent claims, making sure everything is received as expected. Confirm with your accountant if there are any debtors or creditors that potentially need chasing up. And further information on premises reimbursements can be found on the NHS GMS Premises Cost Directions 2024. But if you have a particular query, please get in touch. Join us next time for some useful tips on managing your claims for the 2024 flu season. In the meantime, if we can support you or your practice in any way, or you would like to see a particular topic covered, then please contact us.